Great. So we've taken a look at strategy, we've looked at mission, we've looked at vision, we've looked at how to communicate that. We've made sure that we know the advantages and disadvantages of having strategies that we can work from. Now is the time where we go and we look at the full functioning of your business. Every organization has something called a value chain. And so let's take a look at the basic idea of a value chain, where we fit into the value chain, and why it matters. Okay, so when raw materials come into your business, they come in through that line. They come into something called inbound logistics. So if you have components that they come in through an inbound logistics. So it comes in the truck or it comes through a delivery vehicle, and it's stored and it's checked in, and we make sure that we have stock in order to start the production process. Now, it could be through services and it could also be through physical, tangible products. So inbound logistics starts the process of turning something that is raw into something that is worth something through the business that we have. Then it goes through operations. Now that might be production. So if you're making bread, your flour, your water, your milk, your eggs, everything comes through inbound logistics. Then it goes into operations. Operations is where the production happens. So we're taking these raw products, we're turning it into a loaf of bread through the production process. All right, now we need to get it out of our production process and to the customer. And so we have something called outbound logistics. So from the outside of our factory, we have a truck that comes in, takes the bread, and it's going to take it to where the customer wants it. So if it is a cafe or if it is an engine one stop, that's where it's going to go. So it goes through inbound logistics to production or operations into outbound logistics. So now it's going to the customer, but we need to create a need. We need to create a demand for our product. So we have a sales and a marketing team. They will then tell the customer, you definitely need to have our bread, and our bread is available at this place and that place and this place. And so your customer then is attracted to your product, and your sales and your marketing team is involved in that. Then you have something called service. So service is something that really, sort of, we want to make sure that our bread is always at 200 grams. We don't want to give bad customer service and that the customer doesn't get what they deserve. And so a customer service is always making sure that the customer gets what the customer wants and that they never feel shortchanged, and there's always good value for the customer. So customer service is part of our core activities and how we produce our good that goes to market. Then we have something called margin. Now, in order for a company to exist, it needs to make profits. And so this is our margin, our profit margin. We have gross profit margin, we have a net profit margin, but ultimately all this margin needs to go back into the business to keep this whole thing sustainable. Now that's the core activities that is involved in the production of a good or service. But remember that there's also something called support activities. So procurement. If I need a new truck, I need to ask procurement in order to get one. If I need better machinery in operations, I ask procurement to go out to market to see if we can source one. If I need another truck to take the goods to where they are needed, procurement is involved. Procurement is involved in every stage of the value chain. So they are known as a support function. That's procurement. Human resources, they look after your drivers, they look after your workers, they look after your sales and your marketing team. They're involved in every single element and every single step of the production process. So human resources is a support. Systems and technology development, otherwise known as IT. IT is involved all the way through. And so we need IT to be a support function in this business. Then we have planning and finance. So obviously we need money in every single element. So your planning and your finance is a support function to your value chain. That's why we call these are core activities. So we see them directly involved in the creation of value. And then you've got your support activities, which is involved in every single phase of the core activity. So that's your core activities and your support activities. So that is your value chain. Now, why do we have a value chain? Okay, so let me move myself out of here. The first thing is we need to know how the business activities are organized and how they relate to each other and who is the customer of the next phase of the value cycle. Now, we need to make sure that our customer is dealing with the supplier is dealing with their customer. So there needs to be a link all the way through, and we make sure that there is nothing that is stopping or bottlenecking the value. Nothing is stopping the process from happening. And so it's a very important thing to see how the different elements of a business relate to each other. Then we need to look at every single part of the value chain, and we need to make sure that it is using its resources to the optimum. So we take a look at every stage of the value chain, and we make sure that the resources are in line with what we want. And then the last one is where's the cost incurred and where's the value created. So we need to, again, we analyze every single step of the value chain to make sure that it is running smoothly, that it is efficient, that it is economic, and that we then can start to go, okay, where's the wastage and where are we planting lots of money and are we getting a return for our money? So when we look at a business, we need to look at every single function and we need to make sure that it is working and that it is creating value. If it is not, then we need to relook at it and start to make it a little bit more streamlined. And so that's part of process manufacturing, especially, is to actually go through every single cycle to make sure that we are doing what we need to do. So that's why we have a value chain. All right, next slide. Over there, you'll see that it's in your workbooks. We talk about primary or core activities, and there you'll see them, okay, as in the diagram. Remember that these are in your reference material in your workbook. And then they talk about the support activities. All right, so those are your support activities. Now, all of those are listed in your support book. So let's take a look. Here's your workbook, okay, and it's called the value chain. So you're going to be reading this quite soon, and you're going to be reading through all the elements that make up the value chain. Okay, this is a nice way of being able to look at it. Suppliers, so these are external suppliers. They bring things into your production cycles or into the creation of your services. Then you have your own operations. So this is what you can control. And you'll see that there's a little value chain over there. So there's a value chain coming from your suppliers, value chain from this supplier, value chain from that supplier, into your own value chain, and then into your distributors value chain, and finally into your customers value chain. So there's lots of value chains that you need to be aware of. And if any of them break down, it can create a big problem for your business. And so you need to constantly be aware of the value system or the supply chain that is affecting your business. Okay. So we are going to be asking that you go back and you start to analyze your own business and you look at the value chain of your business. Okay. So there we go. That's that illustration that we had just looked at. Now you're going to do some work. So the next task is that you are going to read through the value chain. Again, that's in your workbook, and that you're going to complete the team and the value chain. I'll take you through that now. And then you're going to read through core and support functions also in your Inform You, which is also in your book. So let's take a look at that. As we said, you are going to be looking at the Inform Yous. Then you're going to go to the team and the value chain. Okay, so this is how that works. So you see this big value chain. This is a very generic value chain, but your business is totally different. So you don't call it inbound logistics. What do you call it? Stores? Do you call it where you keep your the transport that comes in? What do you call this? And in operations, what are those different departments that are involved in your operations? What are the different departments that are involved in your outbound logistics? Is it your where you keep your stuff that is ready to go to market? So what are those different departments that are involved in your outbound logistics? What are the different departments involved in your sales and marketing? What are the different departments involved in your customer service? So you're looking at this and you are going to put in the departments in your business that relate to these different functions. They're not the same as inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics. They have different names. And so you cross out the names, okay, over here, and you're going to put in the names that relate to your business. Some of you might have procurement, some of you might not. But what is that function and what is its name? Who is involved? So you're going to break down this value chain and you're going to personalize it to what you do in your business. Okay, so you're going to do some investigation. So that's your next task. Okay, so remember, you're going to read through those two different inform yous. You're also going to be doing this task of trying to rename the value chain so that it looks like the value chain of your business, and you're going to be able to put that together. So again, remember, piece of paper, put this lovely little diagram, personalize it, and once you personalize it, you attach it to the portfolio of evidence. Okay, over here, answer some questions based on your value chain. So how does your department, unit, or team add to the organization's activities, either directly or indirectly? So are you a core function or are you a support function? Okay. Then also, now you're looking at the value chain and who is your internal or external customer. Okay. So who is the person that you provide goods and services to within your own business? Who are those that are external? So who do you actually provide the product or service for? What input or service do you provide? And how can you improve your input or service that you provide? So you're going to be looking at that as well. So make sure that all of your things have notes on them. You'll see here, who is your internal supplier? So who gives you things? Who gives you things? And what kind of service is received? And then how could they improve their service to you? So, maybe it's someone who has to give you spare parts. Maybe it is someone who has to give you documentation. Who are the people that supply you with information? Who are the people that supply you with materials? And are they doing a good job? All right. Then based on that, you're going to create a little bit of an action plan. So what are the key priorities for me and my team in adding value? Okay, so how can you increase your service to those people within your organization? And how will this contribute to adding value? All right. And then you're going to read through core and support functions. So that's going to be your next little task. Okay. So before we get to strategy and organizational structure, you're going to read through the value chain, you're going to complete the team and value chain, and then you're going to read through core and support functions in your inform you. So hopefully that was some valuable stuff. I'm going to give you guys at least 40 minutes to read and to personalize your value chain, and then go on to the next video.